I want to talk to you about the best podcasting mics on the market this year. I mean, if you want to engage in podcasting, of course, you got to have content, that's for sure. You got to have inspiration, but you got to also have the equipment. And a great mic is actually foundational to your future success when it comes to podcasting. So here are the general considerations I want you to think about. When you think about the best podcasting mics, of course, you got to think about your budget. You got to think about your niche. You got to think also about your audience. Okay, so your Alex is really important. Your listener experience is really quite essential. Now, why is a good podcast microphone important? Well, it might seem obvious, but this is a question worth asking. Why bother investing in a good podcast mic at all? However you actually you record, there's no denying that a podcast recorded on a decent quality microphone is massively more professional than someone blabbering away on a tinny headset mic, right? I mean, after all, it's the mic that captures your voice and translates it from physical sound waves into digital bits and bytes. So just to let you know, it's important to understand that when you actually start thinking about the best mic for you, you got to always pay attention to what your competitors are also doing. Now, but don't try to compare yourself to others, but you have to really see the trends in the industry. It's very important. You want to see the trends in the industry so that when you actually set certain standards, you are not reinventing the wheel, but you are actually following a certain trend. Now, should you choose an XLR or USB microphone? I mean, XLR and USB simply refer to the type of cable a mic plugs in with. And XLR mics are considered to be more professional, but many USB mics are good enough to go toe to toe with them these days. So if you buy, let's say, an XLR mic, you will need some additional kit like a USB audio interface, mixer, or podcast recorder to run into, while USB mics work right off the box. And some podcast microphones actually do both, though, so you can have the best of both worlds. But again, it depends on what you're looking for and what your budget really is. So should you choose a dynamic or condenser mic? Well, the terms condenser and dynamic refer to two different ways microphones are built and function. So both types of mic have their potential pros and cons. Dynamic mics are often more durable and can handle high volumes without distortion. Condenser mics, on the other hand, are often capable of recording a more crisp and detailed sound. So these are a broad generalization though, and there are always exceptions. So you'll want to really think about what works for you deeply. Let me talk to you about a few tools here. So I want to first talk to you about the best podcast microphones for all budgets and prices. I want to start with microphones for under $100. Okay. Now, a good podcast microphone can cost hundreds of dollars, but luckily there are a lot much more affordable options. And don't let the term budget level put you off. I only recommend good quality kit. So those are relatively cheap though, and very easy to set up. So they're really well suited for beginners. If you are a beginner, not a problem, you can go with them. But I know many a veteran podcaster that still uses this kit even years down the road. It's all about convenience. So the first one I want to share with you is the Samsung Q2U. As you can see on the screen here, wonderful piece of equipment, fantastic. Okay, very durable. That's really important to think about. Durability is really an important element. So the Samsung Q2U. So the average cost is about $70. Now you can check prices on Amazon, $70 to $75. Connection, you have XLR and USB. The function is dynamic, and in terms of pros and cons, this is one of my favorite podcast mic of all time, and it can be difficult to buy in certain regions. So this is something to think about. So think about the Samsung Q2U for flexibility, okay? This is an important element. And the dual output, XLR and USB, means that you can plug it directly into your computer via USB, recording to a GarageBand or Audacity, or use that USB mic to run an online call with remote guests. Then you also have the ATR 2100. So the average cost here is $80. Connection XLR and USB, the function dynamic, almost identical to the Samsung Q2U, but the availability once again can vary depending on your region. Next, you have the Rode Smart Lav Plus, and the average cost here is about $53, less than the first two. The connection 3.5 millimeters, function condenser. Okay, so you have a lot of flexibility there. So that's really fantastic, especially if you are trying to have a super portable mic that fits in your pocket for, let's say, on the road podcast interviews. Next, you have the MXL 990, so 990. So the average cost here is about $70, and connection XLR, function condenser, and so you have great audio quality at a very low cost. So that's really good. But when you think about the MXL 990, you have a quite fragile mic, and you need a boom arm to mount it. Okay, so the MXL 990 was the first condenser mic that you actually I owned back in the days, and it was really good. You can use it for a lot of things, but remember that you need a boom arm to mount it. You also have the Blue Snowball. So the Blue Snowball actually cost about $45. Okay, in terms of connection, you have USB, function condenser, and so this is a nice looking mic at an affordable price. And but you don't have the best sound quality there. Okay, it's important to think about that. You also have the Shure SM58. So when you think about the Shure SM58, you have a mic that costs a lot of cash. I mean, compared to the others, because this piece of equipment is costing you nearly $100. Okay, and so the connection, you have XLR and the function dynamic, and so one big pro with this mic is that it is almost indestructible. But in terms of the cons, the drawbacks, if you are bothered about aesthetics, this looks like a musician mic. Predominantly, it is really, okay? So this is kind of cool, but when you think about the SM58, this is a handheld mic more commonly spotted at music events, usually in the hand of a screaming lead singer. So it can be dropped, pounded, drowned, and still survive. It also has a built-in pop filter. And the SM58 is perfect for anyone that's looking to do more out and about recording than in studio. So if that's you, if you want to have this sort of a podcasting journey, then the SM58 is actually the tool for you, at least this year, and that's kind of cool. So I just explained to you the best budget level podcast microphones for under $100. Now I want to share with you the mid-range podcast microphones. Mid-range, I'm speaking here about $100 to $200. So these microphones are all you need for podcasting up to 6 or 7 figure audiences. And they are also within the normal podcaster's budget and provide great quality recordings to boot. So you have the Rode Podcaster, and the average cost here $170. Connection USB, and the function is dynamic. Okay, essentially the Rode Podcaster in USB form when you think about it. The Rode Procaster, by the way. And on the flip side, you need a boom arm. So the price of the Rode Podcaster definitely creeps up a little bit when you actually include stands and a shock mount. But the cool thing is you will notice a significant difference if you compare it directly with any of the entry-level microphones that I spoke to you a little earlier about. So this is kind of cool. You also have the Blue Yeti. So the Blue Yeti is really great because the average cost is about $130. Connection USB, and this is a condenser, okay? And this is a nice looking mic on its own stand, but it's very easy to use incorrectly. So you want to really familiarize yourself with how this Blue Yeti actually works in the first place. Otherwise, you'll be wasting a lot of time and money and resources, okay? So the Blue Yeti offers great quality audio thanks to its condenser capsules. It's also amazingly easy to use with the plug-and-play USB connection. Next, you have the AKG Lara. So the AKG Lara is actually will set you back $150, and connection USB, function condenser. And this is one of the best sounding USB mics out there, especially when it comes to audio quality. Okay, this is a strong competitor to the Blue Yeti in that it has very similar features, from polar patterns to and an inbuilt stand. You also have the Sennheiser profile. So the Sennheiser profile is kind of cool because it will set you back $130, and the connection is USB. And in terms of function, you have a condenser, okay, and so you have intuitive controls and small size, but you might have some setup issues. So this is an excellent microphone for you if you are looking to take your spoken word audio a little more seriously without shelling out for a more professional setup. It looks and sounds great. The controls are intuitive, and the small size, even if fiddly at times, means that you don't need a lot desk space for it. So that's kind of cool, especially when it comes to scalability. Next, you have the PreSonus Revelator Dynamic. And so what I love about the PreSonus Revelator is that you have a price that's pretty average, so $145. The connection is USB. The function is dynamic. So this is a mic that works well in less than ideal situations, but it's a little pricey if you think about it for a USB mic, okay? This is actually a mic built with two common podcasting problems in mind: background noise and reverb. So that is not an excuse to rely on tech to fix poor sounding and ill-prepared environments, but it's great backup if you struggle to find a consistent, or let's say a permanent space to record your show. It is not the cheapest option out there, considering it's USB only, but it's really forgiving. Audio features will make it an appealing option for many. You also have the PreSonus PX1. So the average cost of this mic is about $130. It's a connection XLR, and it is a condenser, okay, in terms of function. So you have a great podcast mic for recording voice, but you need a well-treated environment. So this is kind of different from the PreSonus Revelator Dynamic, okay? For the PreSonus PX1, you have to really think about, you have to choose this mic if you are looking to own a large diaphragm cardioid condenser microphone without breaking the bank. You want to have an above average recording environment for this one, so better to opt for something like the Q9U that I'll be speaking to you a little earlier about, and or the Shure MV7 if you tend to podcast from inside the broom cupboard. You also have the Samsung Q9U. So the average cost here is $120. Connection XLR and USB. Function dynamic, and so you have a very versatile mic that plugs straight into your computer or into the interface or digital recorder. So if you have a DAW, you will love this mic also, but you need to have a boom arm for it. So you also have the Samsung, you also have the Rode NTIA, and this is another mic. So the average cost of this mic is actually $200, so nearly $200, and connection XLR. It's a dynamic in terms of function, but you have a low noise microphone. But this is not an overly durable build, especially for the price is actually charging. So this is an important element to think about. Now, it's important to understand that this pack comes with a shock mount and a pop filter. So all you need is a mic stand and a recorder, audio interface or mixer to get it up and running real fast. Now let me share with you some of my premium podcast microphones for over $200. You'll have the Shure SM7B. So the average cost here is $360. Connection XLR and the function dynamic. Okay, so one of the highest quality podcast mics out there. No questions asked. Okay, and also one of the most expensive, and you will not sound good in less than optimal conditions. Okay, so the Shure SM7B is actually a legendary mic in the industry. It's one of that discerning audiophiles that discerning audiophiles hold in great esteem, and yes, it does indeed live up to the hype. The problem with the SM7B is that it needs a really professional environment. It picks up a lot of background noise, and it totally unforgiving with bad mic technique. So this will actually pick up all your lip smacks, breathing, pops, and sibilants. And so you need to know how to deal with them all, okay? So presuming that you can do that though, and you can afford the cost, this is one of a wonderful microphone, okay? You also have the Shure MV7, okay? And the average cost here is about $250. In terms of connection, you have an XLR and USB. It is dynamic in function, and it's so similar to the SM7B, but cheaper and more versatile. Okay, and one thing I want to say here is that when you think about this mic, you have a lot of possibility with the mic. Okay, and this is kind of cool. And I want to share with you another one, the Rode NTI fifth generation, fifth gen, and the average cost here is about 250. And connection XLR USB, function dynamic, and so in terms of the pluses, you have a 32-bit float digital output that makes this mic very unclippable. But on the flip side, basically, you need an optimal environment to sound your best. Okay, so when you think about this mic, this is a new kid on the block from Gear, from the Giant Rode, and the NTI 5th Gen works as both a USB and XLR microphone. So this is kind of cool, and so you're able to get things done a lot faster. Next, you have the Apogee Hype mic, and this mic actually will cost you about $350, $400. Connection USB, and the condenser is actually, in terms of function, you have a condenser, and you do have built-in compression features. So those are really good in terms of helping you improve your audio quality. Okay, and it's very expensive though when you think about a USB only mic, because you only have a USB, no XLR. So, but the cool thing is that you are able to boost and level out your voice without the need to do it in software in post-production. It's important. You also have the Hale PR40. So the Hale PR40 will set you back $375. Connection XLR and function dynamic. So you have premium sound quality even in less than ideal environments, but it's kind of hard to justify the price. Think about it, $375. Okay, and next you have the Electro Voice RE20. So the price here, you are looking at $450. So connection XLR, function dynamic, and you have amazing sound quality, but it is extremely expensive. Think about it, $450 for a mic. So this is actually a mic with a very loyal following. If you know, let's say an Electro Voice fan, you know this to be true. The EVs are certainly amongst the best microphones in podcasting or the world of audio in general. So those who actually love the EV speak fondly of its rich tones, depth, and resonance. There is a body to the recording that's as memorable as it is undefinable. Okay, so you will pay for this sound quality, of course. The EV microphones are not cheap. You saw the price, $450. You also have a Rode Wireless Pro, and the average cost here is $430. And the connection, you have USB, DSLR. You also have a smartphone and more. And the function, you have condenser. So this gives you a lot of kit and a lot of options, but it is costly and really unnecessary for most podcasters. It's really, you have to think what works for you and what doesn't work. But pretty great mic. I want to give you a bonus to close to this conversation. The thing is that whether you are thinking about the best podcasting mics, at the end of the day, you have to strengthen your setup, not just your mics. You have to think about things like headphones, your audio interfaces, and also your microphone stands. Okay, podcast microphones don't work in isolation, and you can use various bits of kit and gear to power, support, or enhance them. Headphones are actually a must for any podcaster. You can use them for monitoring, recording, so that you can hear exactly what's being recorded as it's being recorded. Then you can use them to edit and produce your audio too. This is kind of cool. And if you are using a digital mic, you will need a computer to plug your USB cable into. There is every chance that you already have a computer, but bookmark actually you want to have the best computer for podcasting and best laptop for podcasting, guys. Okay, if it's an XLR mic you plan to use, then you can't plug an XLR cable directly into your computer. Instead, you can buy a USB audio interface to link it all together, giving you greater control, flexibility, and a wider range of options. So depending on the model, you can plug 2 or more mics into your interface, making them ideal for recording local co-host or a guest, and some will even include a separate headphone jack for each participant. And the thing is, most podcast microphones mentioned into this conversation will also be optimal when mounted on a stand or boom arm. So this is an important element to think about. So you also have to ask yourself, when you think about the best podcast mics, think about the background noise, your mic technique, and the sound quality. Those are elements you have to really work on over time. Like those things, you don't get them, like you don't improve on them overnight. It takes time, but those are things you need to think about, because the microphone is really there to help you out. But if you are not in the right environment, if you have background noise, if you don't have the proper mic technique, if you are not able to adjust the sound quality, then the mic is there, but the mic is just a tool. You are still, your voice, your technique are still important to make sure that you actually, in the end, deliver proper quality podcast content. So in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about the best podcasting mics. I gave you the general considerations, and I share with you the tools. So the best podcast microphones for all budgets, so for under $100. The mid-range podcast microphones for $100 to $200. And the premium podcast microphones for over $200. And then I share with you the bonus here. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.